Yo, what's up? It's Dave Views, and this is a video about the so-called beef between T.I. and Godfrey. Let's see if it's legitimate, if there's a wrong or right side. Um, Shawty look weird right there, but they could have did something different, but I digress. Let's see what they got to say. Pierre Capone, Vanessa, and everybody at Comedy Hype. Let's see what they got to say.
Over the last month or so, T.I. has been making appearances all over Atlanta to perform stand-up comedy. This decision has got many confused and even some criticism from other comedians. On his podcast, In Godfrey We Trust, Godfrey told fans that T.I. stopped by one of the shows and asked to perform. Godfrey told his co-host that he did not watch T.I. perform after him, and as a headliner in comedy, no one is supposed to go on after the headliner. Now, T.I. saw what Godfrey had to say, responded via Instagram Live, and called him a hater for it.
Now, I'm not 100% sure about the culture of stand-up comedy. I mean, I watch stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy, but I'm not so deep into that. I know what's the culture with there being a headline opening act and all that. I don't know the unwritten rules, but if that's the culture, that's the unwritten rule. It is what it is. He's not gonna respect it. He's not supposed to go after the headline. That's what it is. Now maybe Ti is not a comedian, so he don't know the unwritten rules of comedy. So I mean, maybe that is what it is. Maybe Ti is looking at it like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just a little 5 minutes. But Godfrey's like, it's a certain decorum. It's a certain, you know, unwritten rules that we got in comedy. And Ti don't know because he's a newcomer. Let's see what they got to say.
You said in your little interview is you said that he's not a comedian. And had you taken the time to come to the stage, what you said that you would not do and you should not do, but I disagree. You would have heard in my set, I say, I'm not a comedian. I'm a superstar. There's a difference. There's a difference. You would have.
Well, I feel like people had to say that Godfrey's just a comedian and he's a superstar and his reach is bigger. But because I mean he's Ti, his reach is bigger. But well, I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like he's going towards the trying to downplay Godfrey as just a comedian and he is a superstar. So he can try other things or he's a little bit more. I don't know. He has a little bit more free reign because he's not just a comedian. I'm not sure. I might just ramble there, but basically, it seemed. I don't know if he's going to try to belittle him, but it seems like that's where he's going. Let's see if he goes there.
Heard that, bro.
Last night, he spoke with fellow comedians Ali Sadiq and Rudy Rush to further explain his stance. Today, we have our Comedy Hype analysts, Vanessa Fraction, Capone, and Pierre calling into the show to give their reactions. But first, let's look at Godfrey's response.
And in my head, I go, oh, I bet you they took the shit that I said on the podcast wrong about T.I. doing comedy. I bet you they just took it out of context. And I was right. In T.I.'s video. And if he feels like, because he gave me a compliment. He said, man, I see Godfrey as a giant, blah, 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 a comedy giant. I said, yeah, but you should look at it from a perspective of, yeah, you're a rap superstar. My surprise at you doing comedy is just natural. Like, what? You doing comedy? What? Yeah. You really? Yeah. What? For some reason, people need to take a context class. Take shit out of it. They want to always see that we're shitting on each other. I don't shit on another black man like that. I don't do shit like that. I'm talking about the art form. You know what I mean? I don't do, and I told T.I., I said, T.I., we can have a conversation. I'm not gonna run. Let's have a conversation because I didn't know you made a live saying that I tried to diss you. I didn't know.
Yo, if he had that much respect for you, he would have been like, "Yo, come check me out and tell me what you think."
Exactly.
And then if you ignored him, then he could say, "I got beef
that's
with him,"
different."
or whatever. But you can't just be like, "I'm up there. You gotta come see me."
If he said, Godfrey, if you could expeditiously come and watch my show, I would really appreciate psychological help.
Now, I definitely want to dive into this one because I think
Okay, so that's a little different. Okay, so Godfrey's side of it is like he wasn't hating. He just saying that there's an art form. Like I was saying, there's a decorum for you don't go after the headliner. And he's like, and before T.I. went on this rant about him hating and whatnot, he didn't speak to him or none of that. So that's on T.I. too. before you go to social media, if you have access to a person, you should be able to contact them. That's just what a man should do, and that is a smart thing to do. But in this age, I don't think people do that. They just go straight to social media, even though they can call somebody and have a conversation to have something out. And it keeps people relevant. Uh, that is what it is. Nobody was really talking about Ti. Not like Ti falling off, but I mean he wasn't really in the news or nothing. Bam, back to him being relevant. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to Godfrey too, because Godfrey, I mean, this they could have really planned this together, but I won't be surprised if they did. This all could be fake, but let's see what she got to say.
There's definitely so many layers, and I want to dive into it. So, Pierre, I want to start with you. As a comedian, how do you feel about Godfrey's stance on this topic?
I totally understand how he feels. You know, as a comedian, as a headliner. You know, when you finish, the show's supposed to be over. But I also understand business too, and I think Godfrey kind of forgot about the business aspect of it. You know, when it comes to business, you know, if someone like T.I. or a bigger name comes in and Cat Williams pops in, they're going to let him go on stage for the audience. It is what it is. It's, you know, the guys aren't there, they're rarely there. So when T.I. did that, I totally understand how Godfrey felt. And like I said, you know, some people don't want to watch other comics. You know, some comics don't watch them. I don't normally watch a lot of comics one before me because I don't want to sit there and think, oh, he's doing something similar to me. Let me change my stuff up. I don't normally do that. So I don't even really watch the feature unless a comic asks me to watch them. You know, I may watch them for that purpose, but normally I don't. So I understand how he felt. It may be, he said it and explained himself in a way that might have sounded adversarial, as T.I. would say. And I can see T.I. feeling a little certain way about it, but I don't think that's the intention. And I talked to T.I., I talked to Godfrey this morning, and Godfrey said, no, man, I had no negative feeling towards it. You know, he said, I just didn't feel like watching, you know, him do it. You know, why would I want to watch him do it? I would have watched just to see what he's going to do. Now, I'm a fan of T.I. They've both been on my podcast, Pierre's Panic Room on YouTube. You check that out. But so I have no problem with how Godfrey felt and didn't want to watch him. But because I'm a comic, I understand. And I understand how T.I. feels because, hey, he feels like he's been shunned because he got a chance to get on stage and he's not a comedian. It seems like people are mad because he's not a comic and he's going on stage getting that time that so many comics want.
Capone, I want you to chime on this as well. As a comedian, how do you feel about Godfrey's stance? I know there's a lot of layers, but just about Godfrey's stance.
I definitely understand Godfrey's point of the headliner not wanting to go after them. It's kind of a form of disrespect. And I, for one, when I get off stage, I think if T.I. would have went before Godfrey or even out of respect to say, hey, let me just get a little shot, I don't think we would be having this conversation. But, you know, nobody's really teaching T.I. the ropes of what this is. And so I strongly feel that Godfrey, like he said, it wasn't an anger, but as a headliner, you don't really want to see nobody go after you do your thing.
Vanessa, I want you to chime in on this one. As a comedian, what are your thoughts about Godfrey's stance?
Godfrey stance was one of a veteran in comedy. You know, to me, I don't think we talked about T.I.'s response, but he sounds a bit more like a new comic that just doesn't understand why, you know, one would take issue with that. You don't necessarily know that it's a faux pas to go after the headliner. You know, once he's done and he done wiped off and woo, now he's trying to sell his merch and thank the people for coming to see him or her that was on the actual bill. As Capone stated, though, and as we know, the landscape of comedy and pretty much anything else is changing where it's about the dollar. It's always been about the dollar. So if you have someone coming in such as T.I. or as Capone said, even a Cat Williams or a Dave or whomever, and they're like, hey, let me get a little juice. You know, they're like, hey, let's get the people what they want. You know what I mean? So we would bring those on. And so I think that, again, we have a couple of things to unpack here. But the first thing that that Godfrey had pointed out, there's not that big, to me, there's not a big of an issue with that. You know what I mean? It's just more so the way that shows are conducted. But then we also have to give a little space for the business side, which Godfrey also mentioned in his on his podcast. He said he did understand, you know what I mean, the fanfare and so forth, and why he would go on. But I think moving forward to stop some of the confusion is just an explanation of the way the shows are usually conducted.
So basically, what they saying is the same thing that I was thinking, and it's that there's a certain way you do things in the comedy. Ti doesn't know because he's a newcomer. Godfrey knows. Pierre, all Capone, Vanessa, they all know because they're veteran comedians. You're not supposed to go on after the headliner. That's just is what it now from a club. The person running the club, of course, they're gonna let them go up because it's Ti. Put their club on the map. Put their venue at the map. Whatever venue that is, it's Ti. You're gonna let them get on the stage. I would have let them get on the stage. I mean, that's just real. And I would have to talk to Godfrey like, hey, this could bring my business way more eyes than you can. No offense. It's business. It's not personal. That is true, but I understand it from both views. I thought it was a beef, not really a beef, a misunderstanding, miscommunication because they didn't communicate to each other. That's what it was. Uh, this is a conversation that I didn't even like. It didn't even register to me because I didn't know that that was an unwritten rule in comedy. I didn't know that they had these type of decorums and things like that. So if you're outside looking in, you think this is nothing. But I understand that in anything that you do, there's unwritten rules. At everybody's job, there's unwritten rules. And in people's homes, there's unwritten rules. You don't even like you don't just walk into somebody's house and go in the refrigerator. That just if you don't live there, that's just not. It's not how you do that. And it's simple as that. So if you could like, comment, and subscribe, this has been my analysis on this video. This is where I'm going to end it. And I'm not gonna pick no sides. I understand both sides. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Dave views and we out. Peace.